Now get the hell out of my house. You ain't gotta go home, but you gotta get the hell up out of here. And if you make me physically remove you, I'm gonna show you these hands still work. Girl, go home. And I'm sure you owe your husband an apology when you get there, because I know you threw a damn tantrum, insulted and offended that man. This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Genesis, Part 4. When we left off, Stacks and a team of highly skilled shooters were preparing to enter Angela and Stephanie's estate in Denver to rescue True and Bosh. They were keeping LJ posted, and LJ was keeping Angela posted. At the same time, Q was updating Big Wood, and Selima was at Q and Angela's house demanding answers. And it was trouble in paradise between Selima and Wise. Angela said, "Listen, Selima, I have not known you long, so I won't try to pretend like I know you well. But I do know your kind. You and Stephanie are cut from the same cloth. You two have so much in common that it's scary. You both grew up without a parent. No child comes out of that unscathed. I know that our Uncle Manny feels that father wound for Stephanie. But who feels that mother wound for you?" Selima said, "Child, I do not need to be psychoanalyzed. I have had good, solid women in my life my entire life. My uncles are married to the best women I could ever know. And my pops was the best father and mother anybody could ever ask for." Angela said, "But your father couldn't be your mother. And your aunts couldn't be your mother either. And I'm not trying to psychoanalyze you. You came to my house at nearly 3 o'clock in the morning, demanding information. So I'm going to give you some. And if you don't want to hear what I have to say, you can leave. But as long as you're here, I'm going to say my piece." Selima said, "So I got to listen to you judge me in order for you to tell me what I came here to find out?" Angela said, "This isn't judgment, sweetheart. This is wisdom. And you need some right now more than you even know. One of the things that whole situation with Stephanie and baby Kari taught me is that you cannot force a square peg into a round hole. So I'll be the last one to try to pressure you into bending to anybody else's will. Not your Aunt Bella's, not your husband's, not even God's. Because you're going to do what you're going to do. But one of the things that you need to know about me is you can't bend me to your will either, Selima. Now, if you're as much like Stephanie as I think you are, then I already know you don't like unsolicited advice." Selima said, "You got that right." Angela said, "I figured. So I'm not going to give you any advice. I'm just going to share what I know. And you can do with it what you will. When your cousin and I got married, we both adopted Melissa. And I adopted Michael. It has been my absolute pleasure to be their mother. But it was not without growing pains. No matter how much I love them, how much I give them, or how much I teach them, I will never be their biological mother. One of the things that I had to do in order to accept that our relationships would always be different than the relationships that I have with my biological children was talk with other adoptive parents and adoptees themselves. I was surprised to learn that even children who were adopted into families where they were wanted more than anything else in the world, even children who had no idea they were adopted, knew instinctively that something was different, no matter the efforts that their adoptive family went through to make sure that they were included and loved, provided for, guided, and wholeheartedly embraced. There were still the underpinnings of not necessarily belonging, not really being like everyone else, especially in situations when the adoptive parents had biological children. I had to accept that no matter what I did, no matter what Q did, the children that we loved more than life itself would always feel us as separate from themselves in a way that our biological children just wouldn't. We had to accept that that wasn't a battle that we needed to fight, because there would be no winners if we did. We also had to include the children in the process of understanding the psychology of adoption, of being an instrumental and irreplaceable part of a family, beyond biology, shared DNA, and even shared history. We had to embrace the responsibility for teaching our children how to embrace their origins, honor their lineage, and see the gift in their adoption. I'm saying all of that because even if your father had remarried while you were a small child, and he'd chosen a woman who loved you more than life itself, she could have embraced you as her daughter, and you could have embraced her as your mother, and you would have still had a mother wound. As I understand, your aunts did everything in their power to support your father in raising you, and loving, protecting, and guiding you. But each of them had their own families, and none of them were there for the day-to-day, to walk with you into womanhood, to guide you through the process of self-identity and self-actualization. And every little girl needs that, Selima. You're going to be a mother soon. Very soon. And if this baby is a girl, she is going to need you to give her something that you never had. I will not be dragged into this tug of war between you and your Aunt Bella. She's trying to force you to get the tools that you need to be the mother that this baby deserves. And you're fighting for a position that will be there. It won't slip through your fingers if you focus on getting the tools that you need to be the mother that your child is going to need. Believe me when I tell you that love is not enough. You are a phenomenal woman, and you will be a powerful leader. But there is a time for everything. And this is the time, the season, that God has carved out just for you. Salima said, how can it be just for me if everything is about this baby? Angela said, when you are preparing for the birth of a baby, it is so much more than painting nursery walls, putting together furniture, planning baby showers, and eating good food. This is my third rodeo, my second with twins. And even I have to prepare myself for the journey because every child needs a different version of me, and there are no guarantees. I am the mother of 2 daughters. One is on the autism spectrum and the other is deaf. For all of the things that they need from me that are exactly the same, there are twice as many that are completely different. God makes no mistakes, Salima. Whether by birth or adoption, God gives the right children to the right parents. Some people are just the vehicle that he uses to get the soul here, while some are the loving arms that he prepares to receive them, to hold them, love them, and nurture them without regard for DNA. Salima said, wonderful speech. How does that explain all the children in foster care? All the children who are abused by their biological parents, removed from the home, put in another home, and abused in that home too. That sounds good, but it don't line up with reality, Angela said. Yeah, you're right. There are plenty of souls that God sends to this earth that do not get the benefit of loving arms waiting. But not because that isn't God's design. God designed sex for the container of marriage. But there's plenty of folks having a whole lot of sex without a marriage covenant to be found. God does not force his will on us. He tells us what he expects, and then he allows us to choose for ourselves. Unfortunately, many times, that means we also get to choose for the most vulnerable among us. Just like you lost your mother, and God sent your aunts to stand in the gap for you, even the children who have the worst experiences often have someone that God sends to be a light in the darkness. Now, we can get distracted by all of the ways that it goes wrong, or we can focus on how we can prepare you for it to go right. You have no way to know what the soul growing inside of you is going to need, Salima. That's outside of your locus of control. What you do know is what kind of mother that soul is going to get. And that is within your locus of control. How are you preparing to be the mother that your baby needs? Who are the voices that you are allowing to speak truth to power in your life, Salima? Who are you consulting for advice and support? Who are you getting the game from? I know who it's not because you're too busy pouting and fighting with your Aunt Bella. Your Aunt Marisol and your Aunt Tessa are too close to the flames. So all you see is smoke. Salima said, let me guess. You want to be the voice of reason in my life. Angela said, oh no, I don't have the capacity for that. But I know someone who does. Go home, Salima. Wait for your aunt's call in the morning. You'll find out everything that you want to know. And when that call is done, Mom Brenda will be by. It's time the two of you get much better acquainted. Salima said, I love God, but I don't need a Bible thumper in my life right now. Angela said she's not going to thump her Bible, but she just might thump you in that hard forehead of yours. Salima said, I thought if I listened to that whole little speech of yours, you was going to tell me what I actually came here to find out. Angela said, I ain't never say that. I'm a lot of things, Salima, but I am not a pushover. As the big sister of your twin, Stephanie, I've got a whole lot of experience with the word no. Now get the hell out of my house. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here. And if you make me physically remove you, I'm going to show you these hands still work. Salima said, fine, I've been put out of better places. But let me say this. If this is a ploy for you to take my spot as Queen Pin of the Baptiste family, you're going to have a fight on your hands. Angela said, girl, don't nobody want your... What? Yeah, you and Stephanie got way too much in common. Queen of the Baptiste family. Girl, go home. And I'm sure you owe your husband an apology when you get there. Because I know you threw a damn tantrum, insulted and offended that man. Salima said, I knew he called you. Angela said, no, he didn't. But I know the type. I told you, you and Stephanie got way too much in common. Goodbye, Salima. As soon as the front door closed, Angela called LJ, because he'd already tried to call her, but she'd ignored the call. And when he answered, she was relieved. The following morning, Angela tried to watch church online. She'd only had a few hours of sleep, and there was no way she could get up and drag herself and her family to church in person. Not to mention, she was expecting a 10 a.m. call from the Queen Mother, where she, Salima, and Stephanie would all be conferenced in to get a full and complete update on the mayhem that had and would be ensuing, courtesy of Stanley's machinations with the International Trafficking Organization. It had only been a few hours since her and Stephanie's heart-to-heart, her update from LJ and Q's update to Big Wood on the situation at Angela and Stephanie's estate in Denver. So when Q looked over and saw Angela dozing off, he said, "Love, go lay down. Get a few more hours of sleep so that you have the mental fortitude to handle business with my mother. Go and update Big Wood and sit down with the children. I got a feeling they're going to be none too happy about having to be homeschooled." At Salima and Wise's, the breakfast table was real quiet. When Salima returned home hours before, she was confused, annoyed, and not ready for a round two with Wise. Lucky for her, her husband had gone to bed, so there would be no round two. But finding him sleeping comfortably, like he didn't have a care in the world, pissed Salima off. Like a petulant child, she made a gang of noise, slamming doors, dressers, turning on lights, and huffing and puffing. And for Wise's part, he paid her in dust, because he knew his wife. She didn't want to talk, she wanted to be heard. And what Wise needed or wanted was not on her radar. What Wise wasn't going to do was fight a battle he couldn't win or beg for an apology that he knew he was owed. So if his wife wanted his support, she was going to have to come to the table with the respect that he deserved. And it was clear that she was not ready to do that. Because she got up, walked away from the breakfast table, put her plate in the sink, walked out of the kitchen, all without saying two words. Wise watched from his peripheral vision as Salima walked into her study and he continued eating his food. When he was done, he headed to the guest house to go and have a conversation with his mother, Mrs. Ali. Meanwhile, in Puerto Rico, Marisol had just collected baby Kyrie from Stephanie and CT. They hadn't arrived at the estate more than 30 minutes before, and Stephanie was overjoyed to see that most of the items that they'd had shipped to Puerto Rico in advance of their relocation had already been unpacked and placed in the appropriate places. All she and Corey needed to do was hang up pictures and reorganize their furniture and knickknacks because Uncle Manny had had everything handled in advance. It was Sunday morning, but after the busy weekend the newly married couple had just had, even CT wasn't going to church, and he was the new pastor. The couple's plans were simple: get comfortable, relax, make love, enjoy some good food, and one another's company on a kid-free day. They decided to forego a honeymoon until after Stephanie delivered their second child. Just as Stephanie put her feet up and started digging into her plate of food, her phone rang. It was the Queen Mother saying, "Stephanie, I know you just got there, and you probably had designs on making that house a home. I really hate to interrupt, but in 30 minutes, you, Salima, and Angela and I are going to have a video conference. Your Uncle Manny's team has uncovered some information that you need to know, and Angela needs to update us all on a situation with True." Stephanie said, "I haven't had an opportunity to get my computer all set up," or the Queen Mother said, "Lorenzo's already done that. So, there's some things that we're not going to cover during this meeting. So when we're done, you'll need to go and find your Uncle Manny to get the rest." Stephanie knew from the tone of Bella's voice that she needed to prepare herself for the worst. She had no idea if it was going to be bad news concerning True or something completely different. But this was not how she wanted to start her new life in Puerto Rico with her husband and daughter. Shortly thereafter in Denton, Q was waking Angela up from her nap because it was time for her to log on. As expected, the Queen Mother was already online, and Angela was the first of the 3 trainees to connect to the meeting. The Queen Mother said, "You're going to learn to sleep while you wait for an update, Angela. Put the phone on the charger, put the volume up to 100, and go to bed." Angela said, "Going to bed must be a reoccurring theme, because I had to tell Salima to go home and go to bed a few hours ago." The Queen Mother said, "I should have known that she would come to you when she couldn't get anything out of me." And like clockwork, Salima logged on, while saying, "Instead of talking about me, talk to me." The Queen Mother said, "Girl, nobody is talking about you. Tell me something. Why are you so damn hard-headed? I really had high hopes for you, Salima." Salima said, "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" The Queen Mother said, "I'd hoped that you'd learned from that whole situation with the Venezuelans and the Colombians. That coloring between the lines is your best course of action. I truly hope that you weren't as hard-headed now as you were as a young girl. But I declare the apple does not fall far from the tree. You are more like your mother than you know. And that's precisely what I'm trying to save you from. Selima said, oh, here we go. First Wise, then Angela, and now you? What's with everybody pulling the mother card? I feel like y'all trying to get cussed out. At this point, y'all trying to see just how far y'all can push Selima before she flash out and it be on the floor. I love y'all. I respect y'all. But I'm not about to play with y'all. And I'm damn sure not going to let y'all keep playing with me. I'm pregnant. I'm not broken. I'm not disabled. And I'm not incompetent. The Queen Mother said, but you're definitely emotional. What the hell is you yelling about? Who said you was disabled, incompetent? Who said any of that? Selima said, nobody, but that's how y'all treating me, and I'm sick of it. The Queen Mother said, you about to cry? You gonna throw your bottle across the room and break your toys now? Selima said, stop provoking me. Angela said, all right, y'all two. Y'all are missing each other. But dear, Selima is not the little girl who you had to teach about using sanitary products. And Selima, your aunt is not trying to control your life. Neither of you are on your best behavior, and I know why. You're both afraid. Your aunt is afraid in unison. Selima and the Queen Mother both cut Angela off saying, afraid? I'm not afraid of nothing. Angela said, right. Medea, you're afraid that Selima's going to end up like her mother. And Selima, you're afraid that becoming a mother is going to change the plans that you had for your own life. Well, guess what? If y'all don't stop fighting, you'll both be right in the worst ways. How about you two call a truce and remember who each of you are? You're not strangers. You can trust one another. Selima, you've got to trust that your Aunt Bella has your best interests at heart. She also has the best interests of your baby, your husband, your marriage, your family, our family, at the forefront of her mind. And Medea, you need to trust that God takes care of babies and fools. And no matter how much of a fool Selima might be, God has a plan even for that. Selima said, I take exception to being called a fool. The Queen Mother said, of course you do. But we've all been fools, baby. We've all thought that we knew better. We've all demanded our own way. We've all made decisions that those who were older and wiser than us tried to warn us against. And in the end, we had to live with the regret. And there is no bigger fool than the fool who does not know he or she is a fool. Angela said, well, there's that. My intention isn't to insult you, Selima. I'm trying to support you both and keep you both from making a bad situation worse. You are walking into one of the greatest joys of a woman's life. But finding the joy is on you. And we cannot make her sit and be still in that joy, Medea. The Queen Mother said, you got it. You sound like you got a plan. And I'm willing to try anything at this point. Angela said, I do. My plan is to let God do what he does best and let Mom Brenda do the rest. The Queen Mother said, ooh, I like that. Selima said, I don't. Angela said, can you at least humor me? Can you give getting to know Mom Brenda a chance? Can you just be open to her wisdom, her love, her mothering? Because you need it. Before Selima could answer, Stephanie popped on. She said, what kind of women's convention did I just log on to? The Queen Mother said, you're late. Stephanie said, I'm a newlywed. Angela said, oh, Lord. The Queen Mother said, girl, do you have on clothes? Stephanie said, no, but if you can give me a couple of minutes, I can go and grab some. Angela just shook her head, and the Queen Mother said, between you and Selima, I don't know what I'm going to do. Why would you log on to a business meeting booty butt naked? Stephanie said, because I thought it was just us girls. We expecting somebody else? The Queen Mother said, it doesn't matter if it's just us girls. It doesn't matter if it's online or in person. When we're handling business, you need to look the part. Then Stephanie turned off her camera, and Angela and Selima did their absolute best not to laugh hysterically as they listened to Stephanie rifling through her suitcase looking for some clothes. When she finally rejoined the meeting, the Queen Mother informed them all of what was extrapolated from Stanley's letters, the security plan that had been devised for the extended family of every head, right hand, general, and lieutenant, and all 5 of the organizations. How the families plan to use the information that they'd gathered during Operation Last Touch, including the tracking of a number of influential players in the trafficking organization, and the information that they extracted and verified from the members that they'd snatched. When Selima asked about the sealed files, the Queen Mother said, oh, baby, we're taking a page from the traffickers' books. And that was all Angela's idea. They have perfected the art of not letting the left hand know what the right hand is doing, which is why when one of their members get popped, whether it be by us or the feds, the amount of information that they're able to provide is limited. While we've perfected a need-to-know basis only system, they've taken documenting that information to a whole new level. And had we better secured our information on the front end Stanley wouldn't have had access to as much information as he did, and he wouldn't have been able to give it to them. Salima said, so you're not just freezing me out? The Queen Mother said, girl, no. Every one of our orgs has implemented tighter controls on the data and information on our servers. Right hand in training or not, it's my job as the head to ensure that our files are secure and that no one has access to any information that they don't need to do their job. If we learned nothing from that whole situation with Stanley, we've learned that you trainees have more power than you've earned. When Salima went to protest, the Queen Mother said, and you all are way more vulnerable than we realized. Your inability to access those files isn't just about limiting your power. It's also about keeping you safe. And that's my job too. Can you understand that, Salima? When Salima nodded her head, the Queen Mother said, that said, Angela has an update. And then Angela told all three of the ladies all about what had transpired on Angela and Stephanie's estate in Denver, Colorado. When Stephanie looked like she was about to start hyperventilating, Angela said, calm down, sis. True is good. She's been successfully relocated. Your General Stacks showed up at the estate with some dang on paratroopers. Them jokers dropped down out the sky and went to work. They were snatching lives like thieves in the night. And by the time the rest of the team landed in Denver and made their way to the estate, they'd cleared a path from all four corners of the estate. Now, the main house is going to need a lot of repairs because those idiots shot up the main corridor trying to get Bosch. And then they tore the wall out of my study trying to locate him and True. There were about 12 or so men left when our full team got on the property and those jokers surrendered. They're at a safe house being questioned now. One of our physicians has seen about Bosch because he took 4 bullets. And True is resting comfortably. She's no worse for the wear at an alternate location. The Queen Mother said, good job, Angela. Angela said, oh no, all of the credit goes to LJ and Stacks. The Queen Mother said, no, you deserve credit as well. You did precisely what I expected of you. You strategized and identified the most appropriate members of the team to execute that strategy and then sent them out and let them do all the heavy lifting. You didn't try to jump on a plane and go to Denver yourself, and you trusted the team to do what they do best. Salima said, all right, I get it. But if you're going to give her my job, just say that. The Queen Mother said, girl, Angela doesn't want your job. The only one who can take your job away from you is you. Then everyone got quiet. They realized that Stephanie was crying. Angela said, Steph, what's the matter? Stephanie said, I miss my best friend. She's pregnant and all alone. Blood is gone. And she was in there fighting for her life last night while I was celebrating my marriage. I need to see my best friend, Angela.